Welcome. Sorry for the delay. Today has been a fast day. So I started a run. Well, I didn't start a running club. I went to a running club, and I wanted to test out my knees. They're still terrible. They're still terrible. But I was able to get through the six or so miles that I needed to run. Not very fast. However, we got it done. Road running is not in my nature any longer. But anyway, you didn't come here to hear about my running. You came here to learn about Azle. So Azle, how much salary do you need to earn in order to purchase a home in Azle, Texas? That's what we're looking at today. Let me get this Topo Chico out the way. Well, since they're not cutting me a check and they're not sponsors of this, we're gonna remove it. All right, so Azle. How much do we need to earn in order to purchase a home in Azle? That's our mission and vision for today. We're going to look at real estate prices in Azle. We're looking at property taxes in Azle, the homeowners association situations, the property taxes. I think I just mentioned that, and the interest rate. So we're going to look at everything that you need to take into consideration when you're purchasing a home in Azle, Texas. So let's begin. No time to delay. Let's get moving and grooving. Let's start off where we always do at Altos Research. So Altos Research is a free website. It is linked down below for you to check it out. Now, the reason that we're here is because it gives us a real time market status of what's happening in the particular area that we're covering today. We're talking about Azle. So this week, the median list price for Azle is almost $500,000. So let's just call it $500,000. What's $100 after all? So you're looking at a $500,000 median list price. So what's currently happening right now, the median, what went out into the market here this past week. Now, there's a lot of other relevant information that you can peruse at your own leisure here later on, but what I want to draw your attention to is down here. This is why we are here at the end of the day. The market segments. The reason I like this website so much, outside of it's free and outside of it providing a current market snapshot available to you, where we're not looking back months and months and months or years and years and years. We're looking at what's happening right now, almost to the day. The third reason that I like this website is because of the market segments. So this breaks it down, it chunks it down into four different quadrants. So 25%, 25%, 25%, 25%. So it gives us the budget associated to the type of home in the top quadrant. And then the second quadrant, less expensive homes that are associated to a particular type of property that are going out to market right now. So essentially it lets you know what's happening right now, and it breaks it down that way. So you get to see, hey, what's the budget that I would need to have if I want to purchase a home that's over 2,000 square feet in Azle, as an example. So here you would look at a budget of about $435,000. This is the correct way to read it. Now, there are homes that are less than the $435,000. There's homes in Azle for including less than $300,000. This is how we get to the averages. But this gives us, again, a good market snapshot as we're comparing cities to cities. What I encourage our clients to do is to open up different tabs, go to different cities that they're considering, and compare. Okay, I need this type of home with this amount of beds, with this amount of baths, and this amount of square footage. What does that look like in each of the cities that I'm considering? That way you get a really good snapshot of what cities are even available at your budget that you're willing to pay, right? So this is really one of the biggest reasons that we're here. So what we end up doing whenever we go through our affordability or this calculation of how much we need to earn in order to purchase a home in a particular city, we go with the third quadrant. So the reason being is we don't go with the lower quadrant because typically it has includes homes that are going to need some repair. They're going to need some work in order to I'm not going to say make it livable, but there's typically homes that could use some improvement, right? So we're looking and trying to model really one of the most, model what most clients that we work with are looking for. In this case, they're looking for homes that are ready to go, that they don't need to feel that they need to purchase, and then learn how to do contracting so they can fix the floors, they can fix the roof, they can fix the plumbing or anything like that. So that's how we go with the average price point being in the third quadrant as opposed to the lowest quadrant, $435,000. So as we make our calculation of how much we need to earn in order to purchase an Azle, you're going to see that we're going to come up with a final number in relation to this $435,000. You can actually make a little bit less and purchase a home in Azle, but not at the price point that we're solving for. So this is step number one. This is what we need to get done. The second thing that, well, actually, let's go over here real quick. I want to show you what type of homes are available in Azle right now in different price points. Now, of course, we are solving for that $435,000 that we just talked about, but I want to give you a visual of the homes that are available right now in Azle so you can start seeing what that looks like. Oops, that's the wrong one. Right here. So backing up for a quick second, just so everybody kind of knows where Azle is at. Azle is on the Tarrant side of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, so on the west side of the Metroplex. So as you see here, it is a straight shot into Fort Worth. Okay, well, I don't know why I'm zooming into that. I'm supposed to be zooming into this. All right, here we go. The lowest price home in Azle at the present time, at the time of this recording, is $190,000. So as you see here, it's even less than $200,000. Now, is this going to be the home that you're ultimately looking for? Most likely not. This is as I'm not seeing the actual picture of it, but it's probably a manufactured home if I had to guess. Now you see homes immediately go into $200,000, and then you get to see the square footage, the beds, and even their location. Right, so I'm going to scroll through here. So you see this is more of a smaller town. These are homes that you typically see in more rural areas, which Azle, I would say if you're out of town, Azle is pretty small. So you move one street over and you're out of town already. But just kind of giving you a different lay of the land. Now here you start seeing more of the quote unquote traditional homes, the homes that are a little bit newer. How do I know that? Well, the facade gives it away, but also look at the trees. The trees are not mature. Gives you a good understanding. Hey, these are newer homes. These are homes that are built in less than 10 years back. So you get to see for this type of home, you're looking at about $300,000. Now let's go to the next one. And now you're starting seeing larger homes, right? So you have even brand new homes. So if you're looking for a brand new home and are okay with commuting slightly, this might be an option for you. Why can I not? Here we go. That's what I'm looking for. All right, so in the low 300,000s, you can still buy brand new homes, as you're seeing right here. So that right there is a brand new home. Now you're getting to the 400,000s. This is still in the 300,000s, brand new homes. So you have a lot of options. We'll go into the last one and then just kind of pause here. Right, so just give me the different views that are available to you. So you see there's a lot of new construction. Why? Well, because there's a lot of demand right now. And as you saw in the previous slide or in the previous page, the market action index, which tells you is it a buyer's market or a seller's market, you're starting to see it creep more towards the buyer's market, where if you get further into it, more central part of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex is still a heavy seller's market. Why? Well, because there's not enough inventory from homeowners that are looking to sell. But as you get further away from the central part of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, there's more competition from homeowners because they're competing against builders. Azle is a prime example of this. You have more brand new homes than you have resales. Why? Well, one, because it's a smaller town, so you're not going to have that many homes to sell. But two, there's so much construction going on out there. You have the D.R. Hortons of the world, the Lennars of the world, the Bloomfields of the world. You have all these builders coming in and building hundreds of homes at a time. So that's why you see the market doing what it's doing. All right, so let's go into the next little. That's not right. Let's go into our calculation, because this is what we came here for. So how much we need to make in order to purchase a home in Azle, Texas. So we need to do this. $435,000. That is what we're solving for. Put myself back on. Now, at any point, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. Let me get rid of these websites so we don't have any other things running in the background that will slow down our streaming service. All right, so as you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. A like is going to go a long way. It's going to help us magnify this live stream so it reaches more people just like you. All right, so let's continue. Let's do our calculation. Now, it is this spreadsheet that you're seeing on the screen right now is linked down below. So just go down to the description and click on it, and you're going to get access to it. This is what we call our max price calculator. This calculator will give you how much you can afford based off of the current market conditions and based off of your financial conditions. So that's very important. Whatever the market is doing, plus what we have in terms of money, we marry them together, and it gives you a max price. So it translates a lot of variables that we have a hard time kind of, myself include, I guess I'm projecting, I'm more speaking about myself. I have a hard time really conceptualizing, well, if I make this money and I have this debt and then the interest rate is doing that, I don't have to worry about that. I don't have to put this on paper. I don't have to create my own spreadsheet. This is already created for you. It is linked down below. So all you have to do is, once you download it, go to File and then make a copy. This is the exact same. It's the exact same one that you're looking at. It's the exact same one that you have linked down below. Now, this is something that we use here internally with our clients. Anytime we have a conversation with them about money, we do this breakdown with them. So you get access to it as well. It is linked down below, so make sure you check that out. All right, so down payment. The down payment, you can do so many different things with down payment, but we're just gonna keep it very, very. We're just gonna hit the high notes. When it comes to the down payment, you can put anything as a down payment, but most likely you're going to be going in. Well, I shouldn't say anything. Depending on the loan that you go with, you're going to have some requirements. You're going to have some minimums to meet. As an example, if you get what we call a conventional loan, the minimum down payment that you would need in order to purchase a home is going to be 3%. If you get an FHA loan, that's going to be 3.5%. The minimum that you need there is 3.5%. If you served in the military, you're eligible for a VA loan, Veterans Association loan, and there you're eligible for 0% down. Now, if you buy a home within a USDA area, so this is the home itself, that's what would qualify, it being in an area that's deemed a USDA zoned area, then you have the ability to buy a home at 0% down there as well, right? So these are different financial products. So I will link down our preferred lenders down below so you can have conversations with them on what that looks like, but just give you an understanding of what that is. Now, as far as down payment, the only thing that I'll mention before we get into the next field, because we got to keep it moving, is there's a myth out there that we need 20% down to purchase a home. I myself believed it. I myself thought that I needed 20% down, and I was about to say like a dummy, but I'm not a dummy because I didn't know it. I was just not informed. But I, like a lot of individuals, waited to buy my first home until I had 20% down. Right? So that's not the case. So the reason that 20% comes up is because in those first two products that I mentioned, the conventional and the FHA, in those first two products, in order for you to avoid paying what's called mortgage insurance, PMI is for conventional and MIP is for FHA. But anyway, in order to avoid mortgage insurance, paying an additional fee, paying an additional amount, I would need to put at least 20% down. Right, so we just heard that, hey, the minimums on a conventional is 3%. The minimum on an FHA is 3.5%. So you can get into a home, you can get into a loan for those minimums. However, if you put anything less than 20% down, then you're paying an additional percentage. You're paying an additional fee, call it that, which is mortgage insurance, which we'll talk about here shortly. But just give you kind of an awareness on that. You don't need 20% down. That is not a thing. But I just shared kind of where the 20% myth came from. For our purposes today, we're going to put 5% down because most of our clients end up doing 5% down. It's something that, depending on credit, depending on loan amounts, depending on a lot of other factors, that's what the lenders will typically either ask the client to do, or the client will kind of go at and select anyway. But you can adjust this either way. You can go down to the minimums. You can go down to as much down payment as you want. Interest rate is going to vary. So by the time the market's open tomorrow, this is Sunday, the interest rate is going to be different. By the time you watch this video, a week from now, a month from now, a year from now, the interest rate is going to be different. So the easiest thing for you to do is going to go over to Google and put in mortgage interest rates today. Straight Google. That's all we have to do. So we're going to go into Google and we're going to ballpark this. Let's just say it's a $400,000 loan, which it's not. And it's about 5% down. We're in Texas, and we're going to give ourselves a average credit score of 720. This gives us a good estimate. This is a ballpark estimate. Some of you are going to have a slightly higher interest rate on the 30 years. Some of you are going to have a slightly lower interest rate on the 30-year fix, which is what we're solving for. So as an example, if we had below a 700 credit, you see that jump from 7.3 something to 7.5 something, right? Now, if we had an 800 and above, as an example, that went from 7.3 something to 7.0 something, right? So it's gonna depend. Now, again, this is just giving you a ballpark estimate. This is not something you can literally take to the bank and say, I want this interest rate, because they are gonna say, good for you. That's not a thing. So what we're gonna do though is we're gonna take this information and we're gonna start mapping out what we ultimately need to make based off of reasonable numbers, reasonable estimates, which is what we just went and received right now. All right, so the next step, we're gonna solve for a 30-year mortgage loan, as most loans that are used to purchase homes happen to be 30-year fixed notes. Now, you can do 20 years, you can do 15 years, you can do even up to 40 years. There's some financial products out there that are 40 years, but for the most part, 30 years is where it's at. All right, property tax rate. Property tax rate, this is really, as far as the feedback that I get in these particular videos, this is really where a lot of the clients, a lot of the viewers that watch this content, this particular series of affordability, this particular series of how much you need to earn or salary you need to make to purchase a home in Azle, this is where a lot of the viewers get the most value, where I show you where to get the property tax rate, because for several reasons. One, you're paying property taxes. When you own a property, you're paying property taxes. A lot of folks don't really recognize that when you purchase a home, there's the interest that you're paying on the loan itself, but there's also another expense that's very, very, very large in most people's eyes, and that's called property taxes. So you're paying property taxes. Something else to be aware of is in Texas, you have the 6th highest property tax rates in the country. So that means property tax rates are incredibly high in Texas. So it's something that you need to be aware of, because that's a significant line item that if you don't budget into your equation whenever you're looking to purchase a home, that's going to slap you right in the face. And it does for a lot of people, and it did for me. Now, I wasn't moving from another state. I was just not very well informed. And no shade to my lender, no shade to my agent that helped me purchase homes. I just did not know. I just did not even care to research this, even though they probably told me, but I just didn't really pay too much attention. So that's on me. That's my bad. Now, the third thing to know about property tax rates as we go right here is property tax rates are going to be different across every single city, including there's going to be, depending on where you live, your property tax rate is going to be different than the person across the street. I know it's a little bit extreme, but that's the case considering that some cities are divided up into different ISDs, right? So you could find yourself in a city where this part of town or this part of the street goes to this ISD, and this other part of ISD this other part of town goes to the other ISD. So a lot of cities are that way. So immediately think about Arlington and Mansfield. You have a lot of folks that live in Arlington but actually go to Mansfield schools because that's the way that it's zoned, right? So you need to have awareness of property tax rates. You need to have awareness of how to calculate it. You need to have awareness of where to go to get this rate, because it's different all across the Metroplex, which is what we're going to solve for right now, specific to Azle. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go back to trusted Google, and we're going to go to Azle, Texas property tax rate. Now I'm going to show you some of the mistakes that we make along the way. All right, so one thing that I strongly encourage you to do is to go directly to the city itself. First, go to the city and see exactly what their tax rates are. If you cannot find a clear-cut answer, which many cities unfortunately do not give you a clear-cut answer, go to the county. Now, if you can't find the information that you need in the county, then resort to the third-party websites like Smart Asset is one that comes up a lot. You have Ownwell comes up a lot. Then go to the third parties. But first, go to the city itself, then go to the county, then go to the third parties. The second thing we need to recognize is, I know I just mentioned that every single city is different, and that is absolutely true. But here's where we need to understand of what makes up a property tax rate, the number that you're solving for. There's 5 potential rates that you need to look at that you're going to add up together to get a meaningful estimate of your property taxes. So there's potentially 5, 3 for sure, 2 additional, most likely. I know it sounds confusing, but as you see what I'm talking about, it'll make sense. The first 3 that for sure every single city in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex is going to deal with is the city tax rate, the county tax rate, and the ISD tax rate. Those get added together. Now, many other cities have 2 additional tax rates to contend with. One is higher education, which think of community colleges, and the other is a hospital network. So in Dallas, as an example, think of Parkland, right? So you have those 2 additional numbers to contend with. So there's up to 5 that you're going to look at. Now there's mud and like all this other stuff that it's in between that you could also factor in. But for the most part, just to give you a really reasonable tax rate, that's what we're looking at. And to give you just a range of what we look at in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, you're looking at on the lowest end that you're going to find when it comes to property taxes, you're looking at 1.8%. And on the higher end, you're looking at 3% roughly. So those are the ranges. But a lot of the cities in Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, you're going to find in the 2.3s, 2.4s, 2.5s. That's what you're going to see most of the time. I know I'm saying a lot. I know that I'm saying a lot. But this is really important. This is what most people find a lot of value in. So let's go and find it. All right. So remember what we're solving for, folks. We're solving for property taxes. Now, let's see. Sales tax, Parker County. Okay, so we have the school tax. Now notice that this is not all like laid out in perfect graph. So right, this is going to be important for us. This is also going to be important for us. So remember, city, county, ISD. Those 3 have to happen. So I see that city is already factored in. School, you're seeing a dollar sign instead of a percentage sign. So you're already starting to see some incongruencies that if you don't know what to look for, you might see, hey, city ad valorem. Well, that sounds like taxes. Well, it is. And you would think, okay, well, property taxes are 0.568%. You would go over here and type that in instead of thinking it's the previous one. I think we did Anna. I don't remember exactly, but the previous city that we just did on Wednesday's live stream was 2.22%. So I would suspect that Azle is going to be in that ballpark. But if we don't factor, well, let me go to the exact number finding so we can see exactly what it ends up being. All right, so remember, we have the city. Okay, now we have it. So 0.568. We need the county. All right, well, we got to find it. Well, it looks like we're looking at 2 different county tax rates. This is where it gets important. If you're a little bit west of town, then you're going to be looking at Parker County. If you're a little bit eastern side of town, then you're in Tarrant. So for our purposes today, we're going to stay with Tarrant. But look at the difference in the special districts hospital. Look at the difference, 0.22 versus 0.09. Right? So this is that additional. So let's do a quick little recap here. City, we have it up here. County, we have it down here. ISD, we have it up here, which is 1.025. And then I mentioned those 2 others that you could potentially have, which is the higher education. So you have the colleges here, so Tarrant County, and then the hospital network, and you have special hospital districts. So look at the difference, right? Look at the difference between if you lived in Parker County, which that's going to be a significant difference. That's going to be a significant difference versus you living in Tarrant County. This is why we need to have the awareness of where we're buying. And this is where you're seeing exactly how to go to find this information. So for our purposes today, I'm going to do some rough math very, very quickly. And when I say rough math, I've stopped doing math in public and I'm just going to add it up. No shame in that. Through a calculator. My math teacher would be upset because I was deadly with number sense back in my day. For those of you, shout out to anybody that knows what number sense is. If you don't, I don't blame you. All right, so here's what we have. 2.17, you can't see that, right? 2.1722. What does that mean? That means that our tax rate is 2.17 if we live in the Tarrant County side of town. Now, we talked about MUD. We talked about some special ones as well. You have the regional water district, so you have it here as well. Oh, it did the math for me. What? I'm so dumb. Actually, I'm not dumb. I was going quick. So here we go. All right, well, had I scrolled down a little bit further, we would have the math. So they went ahead and added the regional water district, which I should have as well. So here, look at the difference, 2.199 versus 2.079. Now you may be thinking, well, Jaime, that's like, we're talking about pennies at this point. Well, we're not talking about pennies, because this number that you're calculating for here gets multiplied times the assessed value. This is the market value, but the assessed value, you're multiplying that times hundreds of thousands of dollars every single year. So we're not talking about pennies. We're talking about thousands of dollars of difference over the life that you own this property. Now, I'm not saying, hey, choose another property just because of this. What I'm saying is be aware that this exists and factor that into your real estate decisions. So for our purposes today, we're going to take this number, 2.199, and we're going to take that and we're going to say 219. Actually, we're going to do that. All right, so I know that this is presented a little bit different, so I need to make sure that we explain this. So property tax rate, we're not putting 2.20. The way that this is presented, this tool was created by a good friend of the channel, Kyle Seagraves, who happens to be a lender and has a really good channel called Win the House You Love. So he's the one that created this particular tool. It is linked down below again for you to use, but the way that it's built out is more from a lender's perspective. So they go based off of what they call points, and they just have different way of communicating. So you would think like, hey, let's just put percentage, but not these folks. Anyway, property tax rate. So this is 2.2%. You don't need to put the decimal. You just need to put the numbers as they are. All right. So I'll back up for a quick second. Although the top over here was a little bit confusing, I wish they would have included in the graph itself. Overall, I have to give Azle a B. I'll give them a B for the way that they presented this information. Because what you're gonna find as you go to other cities, they don't put these charts out there. They don't put really a lot of information that can help you in your search. Sorry, I'm trying to get back to our live stream to make sure that we're still live. Okay, and now that we spent 30 minutes there, let's keep going. Insurance rate. When you purchase a home, you're going to be required to have homeowners insurance. Even after you own the home outright, I encourage you to pay homeowners insurance. It's going to save you in the long run. So with homeowners insurance, we need an estimate. We need an approximate. Now, as opposed to going and spending another 30 minutes, what we end up doing is just put 0.75% times the value of the home here and divide it out by 12. Now, you're going to see that in the next tab when we go to the dashboard, but this is an estimate. If you feel that your homeowner's insurance rate is higher in your neck of the woods, then bump it up to 8.8, which is 0.8%. This is 0.75%. This is what we are seeing here in the market. And to be candid, we are getting ready to bump this estimate up to 0.8 because homeowners insurance rates have shot up. Same thing with auto loans. I don't know if you've checked out your premiums lately, but they are absurd and they are just not going down anytime soon. Anyway, 0.75% is what we are using here. So don't adjust that unless you know you're in an area like Florida that is notorious for really not having homeowners insurance options. Same with California. So if you need to bump it up, but for most of us, just leave it as is. We're going back to mortgage insurance rates. So let's talk about homeowners mortgage insurance rates. Remember when we talked about the 20% myth that if we don't pay at least 20% down in the purchase of our home, we're paying what's called mortgage insurance. The reason that is in play is because the lender is taking out an additional insurance and is making you pay for it. In the event that you default, they have it recouped more money a lot quicker. So it's a way for them to accelerate their their loan back, right? So they already have the interest rate out there, but they feel that, hey, you're putting 5% down on the purchase of this property. We're putting 95%. So you don't have enough skin in the game. So until you have enough skin in the game, then we're going to collect an additional fee, right? So this is where that mortgage insurance rate comes into play. Now, one key distinction before we move on. If you have a conventional loan, so it's a type of loan. If you have a conventional loan, which again, the minimum down payment is 3% down. If you have a conventional loan, once you make your payments consistently, after a certain amount of time, when you reach 20% ownership in that property, the mortgage insurance goes away. So you are no longer paying that. If you get an FHA loan, which again, the minimum down payment there is 3.5%, once you get to 20% homeowner equity in the home, once you own 20% of your home, the mortgage insurance rate does not go away. You pay the mortgage insurance for the life of the loan. That's a big distinction that a lot of us don't really realize. So I want you to have this information ahead of time, because long term, just from that alone, oftentimes the FHA is more expensive. Yearly HOA fees. Because there's so much new construction going on in Azle, and over 85% of the homes that are being built right now across the country automatically go into an HOA, we're going to put a reasonable amount here. We're actually going to budget that in other videos. If you watched any of my other videos in areas that are a little bit more established, like Bedford as an example, I don't usually add some HOA fees, or I don't add as much of an HOA fee, because you're not necessarily looking at new construction there most of the time. And most of the areas in Bedford, again, I'm not picking on Bedford, there's other similar cities like that, the HOAs aren't as common. But given that Azle is growing so quickly, given that Azle is practically new construction city at this point, then I am going to factor in an HOA, a reasonable HOA fee, because 85% of the homes that are being built new go into an HOA immediately, right? So that's what we're doing there. Now, income tax rate, I'm not gonna adjust that at all. We're just gonna start doing the yearly gross income to make our calculation come true. All right, so yearly gross income. You know how much you're making, and here a general rule of thumb is to average your past 2 years of income to give you an estimate. Now, again, you know how much you're making, but most likely you know, well, you can't really factor in the future income unless there's documented proof. But we're gonna say you know your gross monthly income, because most likely you do. And we're going to start off with $100,000. Let's just say you make $100,000. Now, what factors in? So here we go. Now, in our debts, lenders only care about minimum monthly payments. Again, only the minimum required payment. Now, there's a difference between debt and expenses. Debt are the things that you're paying an additional expense for. So here you're talking about car loans, student loans, child support, credit cards. That is debt. That is things that there's some recourse to you. Now, expenses, there's no recourse. Well, actually, rent does kind of factor that in. Sorry, I probably shouldn't say that. So the expenses, these are your groceries, as an example, the utilities, phone bills, other expenses that you use to live. Now, when the lenders go and do their lendering, the ones that do their math, if you will, they have what's called a debt to income ratio. There's a certain amount of debt that you can have to the gross income that you're making. So all of this equations and stuff, those are going to be done for you. You don't need to factor that in. The only thing that you need to factor in is putting in the information that's specific to you. Remember what I mentioned a couple of minutes ago, where we're taking the market conditions, which is what we went out and found right now, and we're taking our personal conditions into this equation, and then it's going to spit out an answer in the next tab. So any debt that you have, let's just say you still have student loans, put the student loan down there and the minimum monthly payment. Now, again, I must remind you, this particular spreadsheet is linked down below, so make sure you get that. And all you have to do is go to File, make a copy, and it'll save into your Google Drive. You're not going to be able to edit the one that you see on the screen today. So you're going to add your debt and how much you're making in payments. Now, if you have a co-borrower, someone else is buying the home with you, someone else is going to be on that loan with you, then you're going to put their income here and the same thing, their debt and everything in between. All right. So now we're going to go to step number 3. We're saying that we make $100,000 and there's no debt, to see how much we can afford. What's the max price that we can purchase? So we're going to do this, and then we're going to come back up here. I want to show you this graph first. This gives you the price of the home that you can purchase. So what's the max that you could purchase? What's the max price of a home that you can purchase? If you go down, if you take it to the extremes, if you will, into the what we categorize as risky, where over 61% of your net income is going to your housing, then you qualify for up to a $401,000 home. So this means that you can purchase a home that's worth $401,000. Now, in order to qualify for this type of loan, a lot of things need to go right. More specifically, your credit needs to be pristine. It needs to be diamond level pristine. It needs to be really pristine. So that's why we don't really make the calculations that we do based off of the risky loan. One, for personal taste, I would not myself get that type of loan because there's just so much. I don't want to be house poor. I don't want to overextend. I don't want to feel the weight of a mortgage payment at the beginning of the month every single month. That is uncomfortable. That's unnecessary, at least in many cases. So that's why we don't make the calculations that we do on how much you can afford with these videos. We make it more tangible. So, and we also don't do it based off of aggressive. So again, the number that we need to solve for is $435,000. That's what we are trying to buy. We're trying to buy a house in Azle for $435,000 based off of the type of home that we're looking for. You saw that there are homes available right now in Azle for under $200,000, but oftentimes you're probably not looking for that type of home. Now, if that was the case, you would most likely be able to purchase that home already for $100,000. So technically, yes, you can buy a home in Azle for if you make less than $100,000. That is possible, but that's not the type of home that we're looking for right now. We're looking for the home that's valued at $435,000. So we need that number to be right in between the moderate type of loan and the aggressive loan, so we feel comfortable. So we have some room to breathe, so we don't feel constrained by the house that we're in. So what we need to do is we need to go to the boss and say, "Hey boss, how far out? We're not that far out. Hey boss, I need a raise. Can you give me Can you give me $20,000 more a year?" And they're gonna say, "Yeah, absolutely. It could be more if you want." Of course, no one's gonna say that, but we're gonna say that that's the case here. So for our purposes today, we've met it. This $435,000 is between the moderate and the aggressive loan. Now, this, if you don't feel comfortable at that type of percentage, if you don't feel comfortable at this type of 47% of your net income going towards the housing, then don't do that. Continue budgeting, continue figuring, like, either there's some different things that you could do. Either go to your very generous boss and they can up your gross income. Certainly that has a limit. Or you could save more money down so you're not asking for as much in your purchase, or wait for interest rates to come down. I hate to do the wait and see type of approach, but that's a realistic thing that you could do. That's another strategy that we talk about to get you down into more conservative percentages. Because again, everyone has this, the way that we break this down, the safe, conservative, moderate, aggressive, risky, that's all subjective. What's moderate for me might be super risky for you, or what's super risky for you might be, actually I just said the exact same thing, right? What might be moderate for you might be risky for me, right? So that's the tale of the tape. So for our purposes today, we need to make $120,000 to purchase a home in Azle. Now, is that the true number? No, absolutely not. We just talked about it. There's homes out there that are for sale at $180,000, but most likely you're not looking to purchase that home. So that's why we give you a realistic number. And there's some other things that will allow you to make less in order to purchase a home in Azle. So if you want a personalized breakdown, again, check out the link down below. You have access to this, but also we can do this for you. We can do this with you. We do this all the time. All right, so since our exercise is over $120,000, we have an idea of what we need to make. Let's do this. Let's see what the monthly mortgage payment is going to look like and break it down that way, because it's going to be very helpful for us. So we're going to manipulate this number one more time, because we need this number to get, hey, we're going to call this close enough. Well, I think we can get closer. I just need that number up there to get, yeah, as close to $435,000 as possible in order for me to show you the breakdown of what the loan looks like. If you're looking to buy a home in Azle, Texas for about $435,000, which happens to be the type of home that we're looking for, the 5% down that you would need, 5% was selected by me. You could go down to 3 or 3.5%, or you could do more. But based off of the calculation that we just did, for 5% down, you'd look at $21,000 and change, and the estimated closing cost is going to be almost $11,000. So if you add these together, what's that? $32,500. So $32,000, $500. That is $32,500. That is what you would need to come to the closing table with in order to close on this home. Now, your monthly mortgage payment is going to be roughly $4,100. It's going to $2,800 of that is going to go to your principal and interest. Principal is how much you borrowed. Interest is how much you're paying on that you borrowed. Property taxes, notice that number. That number is high, right? At least anything above 0 is going to be high in my book when it comes to property taxes. However, $800 a month, that's a substantial expense. That's more than most car payments. So we need to know where that number comes from. That's why we go and spend 30 minutes on trying to break down what this looks like. Because again, if we were to came here and said, hey, I want to move to Texas for whatever reason, all right? Hey, I want to move from wherever, from Fort Worth into the suburbs. I want to move to Azle, and I want to see what my property tax rates would be. And I look at this and I think, oh, okay, well, that's what it ends up being. Well, notice that is what 25% or 20% of what the actual number is. So if you put 20% of this, you're thinking that property taxes is $200 as opposed to the $800 a month that it most likely is, right? So I just want you to be aware of that because it's very important. Now, I do have some other videos in this channel that show you how to reduce property taxes, like homestead exemptions, how to protest property taxes, and things like that. But this gives you a good estimate of what to expect. Homeowners insurance. This is that monthly premium that we estimated, so $272. Monthly mortgage insurance. So you have the mortgage insurance, which is because we didn't put 20% down on the purchase that we're simulating here. We're paying $200 in mortgage insurance. So that's something we've already talked about. The HOA. The HOA is included here even though it is not part of your monthly mortgage payment. Your monthly mortgage payment is going to be comprised of your principal, your interest, property taxes, homeowners association, and in many cases, the mortgage insurance. Homeowners association, they don't collect through there. Homeowners association sends you a bill at the beginning of the year, and you're paying it within 30 days, or they're sending you significant penalty fees, and if you don't pay those, then you're getting a lien on your property. So we just put this number here just for the budget aspect, just to have that number out there, but it is not part of your monthly mortgage payment. I want to make that clear. This is something you would need to pay in one fell swoop at the beginning of the year. Now, the rest of the calculations are for you to go and check out. The one thing that I want to draw your attention to is the comparing home offers, because once you're in the heat of battle, you've done your calculation for this number as an example. But let's just say, hey, what if I could get this home for less? What would that look like? Well, if you could offer 5% less, this is what you would be offering. This is what your down payment would be. This is what your closing costs would be. And this is how much lower your monthly mortgage payment would be. This basically gives you different scenarios. So whenever your realtor, if you don't have one, please feel free to reach out to us. Whenever your realtor reaches out and says, hey, I think we can get this 5% less, or I think that we can get this for, if we offer 5% more, this gives you a good breakdown, a very easy breakdown for you to make that decision based off of a financial decision rather than an emotional one where you're thinking, well, I don't want to offer $20,000 more. Well, what does that $20,000 actually look like to my pocketbook, right? So make sure that you have that available. Now, with that being said, I appreciate the heck out of you. Make sure you hit that like button. This is going to help syndicate this video to the masses. We're trying to grow this YouTube channel very aggressively, and we're trying to hit 10,000 subscribers very, very soon. And that can only happen with your help. If there's anything we can do for you, whether you're looking to buy, sell, trade, maybe not trade, but we're looking to buy or sell, including lease, feel free to reach out to us. Our information is linked down below, and we service not just the Dallas-Fort Worth area, but we also have real estate agents in all 50 states plus 20 other countries. So make sure you reach out. We would love to support you. Our contact information is down below. But outside of that, I'll see you on the next one. Thank you.